Hey guys, I'm back and we're talking about Opposition, which is the last book in the Lux series by Jennifer Armentrout. My favorite. She's my favorite author. Her and Sarah J. Maas are like, but I love Jennifer Armentrout. I love everything she's written. Pretty much everything she writes gets a 5 stars for me because she's just an amazing writer. Okay, she really is. And she's gotten a lot of new fans from Blood and Ash, and I am like super stoked for her. And all I can say is read her other series because they're amazing. I mean, like, I have almost 2 full shelves of nothing but Jennifer Armentrout because you just can't go wrong when you pick up one of her books. So, of course, 5 star, hands down 5 star. I love Lux. I love Jennifer Armentrout. Boom. 5 and 5. So, this is the last book in the Lux series. It is Katie and Damon. The point of view switches off just like it did in Origin. It is, so here's for the review, okay? The Luxen that were off on other planets have come to Earth. They have landed. This happened in Origin. This is where Origin left off. Damon, Dee, and Dawson left with the Origin. Okay? So Katie is left behind with Archer and Luke and Beth. And it's Luke. So last time in the last video, I was like, is it Luke? Is it Luke? How do you say it? And I checked with the book talk group, and the consensus, and it was unanimous, was that it is Luke. So the world is under attack from the Luxen, and all our characters are trying to survive and save each other all at the same time. They have to work with some people that were enemies in previous books, and it all ends in this humongous epic battle, and I mean it is epic. Like, the closest thing I compare it to is George R.R. Martin. And if you have read Game of Thrones, then you know that man knows how to write a freaking battle. So does the Queen. So does Jennifer Armentrout. Because the battle scenes she writes are epic. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead. I mean, she did a phenomenal job. Anyway, it all ends in that epic battle. And then we do get our happily ever after. So, yeah, I love this series. I love it. You guys. There's something weird going on with Katie's head, though. Like, what's going on with Katie's head? So, I just made it a ponytail, because I don't know what that is. It looks like a fascinator from, like, a British wedding, which, like, I want to go to a British wedding just so I can wear, like, a fascinator hat, because we can't do that here. But I'm just saying, I made it a ponytail. Okay, so that's the review. Y'all know I get sidetracked. Now for the recap. Spoilers. Okay, so Damon, Dawson, and Dee with the Luxen, right? They've been gone for 2 days. Kat has not slept because she keeps waiting because she know her man coming back. Okay. Luck is like, look. See, here I go. Luke is telling Kat, why don't you go check on Beth? And she does, and Beth's like, I'm pregnant. And Katie's like, you're what? You're what? Come again. You about to have one of them freaky little Origin babies. But she's sick. She's not doing well. So Kat and Archer decide that they will go to the grocery store and get prenatal vitamins and the kind of stuff that Beth needs, right, to have a healthy pregnancy. And Luke will stay back with Beth to protect her and keep her safe. While they're at the store, some more Luxen land and show up, and they start to assimilate the human DNA. And what they do is they put their hand on the human and absorb their DNA like slurping down a freaking strawberry smoothie. And yes, that's a Lux reference. And the humans are dead. So they're basically slurping them all up like they're freaking Go-Gurts. And Archer is like, Kat, let's go, let's run. But there's this little kid who gets left behind because her mama gets slurped up like a Go-Gurt. And Kat can't leave this kid. And so Kat starts fighting. Well, they get surrounded. And so Archer starts fighting. And in the chaos, Kat feels Damon, because they have this connection. She feels Damon, and she goes towards Damon. Well, Archer makes a run for it because he sees Damon and Dawson. And, I mean, what can he do? You know what I'm saying? There's nothing he can do. So Dawson hits Kat with the source and, like, knocks her out. And they take her back to wherever they're hanging out with the Luxon in some big, huge mansion. Anyway, okay. Kat wakes up in this mansion to Dee, sitting on the bed. And you're like, oh, yay, Dee. No. Dee's a freaking psycho. So, apparently when the Luxon landed, it just, like, basically took over. It was like this hive mind just, like, took over Damon, Dee, and Dawson. Well, Damon and Dawson, because they were connected to Kat and Beth, didn't completely fall. They were under the spell, but they were able to come out of it. Dee, because she doesn't have that, is completely under the hive mind, honey. What they want, she wants. So Dee is just being a cold, nasty bitch. I mean, she's being mean. Yeah. So Dee takes Kat downstairs to see Roland, who was the mayor of the city that they're in. And he assimilated, that Luxon assimilated that guy's DNA and still wanted to be called by his name. Yeah. So Damon is in the office with Roland, and there's all these Luxon in the office, and Kat's like, Damon, you know, and Damon is ignoring her like she does not exist, and Kat's like, oh, maybe he didn't hear me. So she goes up and, like, puts her hands on his chest, and it's like, Damon. And he literally, like, picks her up, lifts her away from him, and then, like, removes his hands from her like she's some kind of gross, disgusting creature. And you can imagine Kat's heart is just, like, breaking, right? So Roland is like, you know, do you love her? And he said that was before. That was before you guys showed up. So Roland, because he's a freaking psycho, well, he says the Luxon are curious creatures. And so I guess they, like, I don't do experiments on humans or stuff. I don't know. They're weirdos. So, I mean, Damon's a little, you know what I mean? Anyway, so he has Damon hold her and lets Quincy, this other Luxon, who was, like, all over her when she was passed out in the bed, which, by the way, I forgot to say, Damon snuck up there and healed her, and that's why she woke up when Dee was in there. Anyway, has Damon hold her, and Quincy comes up and puts his hand on her chest and tries to freaking assimilate her DNA, which would have killed her. Would have killed Kat. Yes. Yeah. And it doesn't work. And so Roland's like, okay, so we can't assimilate her DNA, you know, what else? And Damon's like, oh, well, you know, she's really fast and strong. And Quincy then lets his hand slide on down and cop a feel, and Damon kicks his hind parts. Because there's only so much pretending Damon can do, y'all. I mean, come on, y'all. Like, he was ready to kill Blake. Like, before Blake ever even proved what a D-bag he was. So, of course, Damon cannot control himself when somebody's filling up his freaking wife, okay? So, Damon whoops him. And Roland's like, I thought you said you didn't, you know, you weren't in love with her. And he's like, well, no, but she's mine. And I had told him that she belonged to me and not to touch her, or I was going to kill him. So, anyway, Roland tells Sadie, which is this Luxon chick that's been filling up on Damon this whole time, to take Kat to clean up. Well, when Damon gets upstairs to the bathroom, it looks like the freaking Tasmanian Devils rolled through there, because Kat and Sadie have been going at it. And they're kind of like having this stare down in the bathroom. And apparently there's, like, busted conditioner and shampoo bottles all over the place. And so Damon, like, tells her to leave, tells Sadie to leave. And when he's finally alone with Kat, he's like, it's not safe. You know, I have to pretend. And he's like, you know, at least until we can get out of here with Dee. I've got to get Dee away from these people. So, and he tells her he loves her. And, like, in that moment, she really needed to hear that because, I mean, you know. So the next day, Roland's like, oh, you're going with us to the press conference. So Kat rides with Roland in the limo. Damon and Dawson are in another vehicle. And they're all going to this press conference, right? Well, while they're in the limo, Sadie they're asking Kat questions, right? And it's kind of weird because it's like, it's that Southern woman, well, all women do this, but Southern mamas do it. They're really good at it. Where you ask somebody, did you eat the last cookie out of the cookie jar? Knowing good what you already know, like they already know you ate the last cookie. They're just asking to see if you will fess up. So they're asking Kat these questions, right? Already knowing the answer because, dun dun dun, Sadie is not a Luxon. She's an Orange and wearing contacts, pretending to be a Luxon, and she ain't the only one. Yes. So Kat is like, oh crap, because they're like, we're going to use you and Damon at this press conference and throw you under the bus for whatever plans it is they plan to do. So Kat's like, oh, no, you're not. So Kat hits the driver. The limo freaking flips over, okay? Damon and Dawson get out when they see what's going on with Kat. And Kat just says 2 words, they know. And that's it, honey. The poo hits the fan and everybody starts fighting. So Kat's fighting, Damon's fighting, Dawson's fighting. D is not, because D is still part of the hive mind. Yeah, D's just kind of standing there watching, you know, like freaking tennis match. Then friggin' helicopters with soldiers show up, and so the soldiers are fighting the Luxon, and it's just like, you know, pew, 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 pew. And I don't know why I just did Star Wars sounds, but it's fine. I mean, I like Star Wars. So the Luxon, the ones that are still standing, run. Damon is like screaming for D, and D's like, a soldier shoots Roland, who was right behind D. D takes off with the Luxon, so D's gone. The soldiers grab Damon, Dawson, and Kat and haul them back to the helicopter. And when they get to the helicopter, who's in the helicopter? Nancy frickin' Husher. Yes, the psycho lady. Yes. Okay. So they get in the chopper. They go to some local Air Force base. I think they're in Montana. And when they get to the Air Force base and get to the doors, who opens the doors? Luke. Luke opens the doors. And it's just like, what's going on? So Dawson goes with somebody to go see Beth. Damon and Kat follow Luke. And when they get into this little like conference room or whatever, Archer is in there. So the gang's all here, right? Except for D. When the Luxon landed, Nancy was told to dismantle Daedalus for like plausible deniability, right? Because how's it going to look? And these Luxon freaking attacking everybody, and the government knew about it the whole time. So she hid the origins because they were like her prized little children. So she hid them. Luke found them, and he's using that as leverage against Nancy. So he's got Nancy by the short and curlies. Yes. So Archer and Luke forced Nancy to tell Kat and Damon what she did. So remember when Damon healed Kat and Kat got sick and they took him to the hospital and Will gave Kat some serum? Well, Will didn't know which serum he was giving Kat, and Nancy tells him that she actually had him give Kat the Prometheus serum. Kat was one of the first people to get the Prometheus serum, so Kat and Damon are not bonded. So if one of them dies, the other won't die. And it's like this kind of weird, like it's good but not, right? Because, and Damon even says this, he's like, you know, it was almost like a comfort because I felt like if something happened to you, I didn't have to go on without you. And now that's gone. So Archer takes them to meet the Air Force general whose daughter is married to a Luxon, okay? And like, he ain't having none of Nancy Husher. He's like, when all this is said and done, we're going to take care of Nancy. Don't worry about it. So they bring them in this room where the general's at, and it's like a command center, right? And the whole point is for them to see what's going to happen. So what the government has come up with, right, is the solution to because the Luxon have assimilated the humans, and you can't tell the humans from the Luxon. So you don't know who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, right? The solution is to drop an EMP bomb, which will destroy everything electrical in the city, right? Cars, computers, ventilators for hospital patients, electricity, internet, everything, right? Everything that's electronic will go down. Nothing that's electronic will work. So they drop an EMP bomb on LA. And Kat is just like kind of devastated. And she's like, you can't do this. Like, you're destroying the whole city. You're committing genocide. And he's kind of like, well, what's our other option? Like, I'm all ears if you've got something else we can do, but we've got to do something. And Damon comes up with an idea to use the Aram. So they're discussing how to make it work with the Aram. Kat goes to the mess hall to get something to eat, and she runs into Luke. And Luke has the hookup for the Aram. He knows how to get in touch with the Aram. So they have to go from Montana to Atlanta. So it's like a 30-hour drive or something to meet up with Hunter, who is Luke's contact in the Aram. And Hunter will take them to meet Lothos, who is the leader of the Aram. Okay. So they go to Atlanta. They meet Hunter. He takes them to this underground city where the Aram live. And he takes them to Lothos. Lothos is snarky. Come on now. How many books in? We know this ain't going to work out. So Lothos is snarky. So Damon is snarky. So then they're snarking at each other. And the next thing you know, Lothos is like, screw it, kill them all. Let's be done with it, kill them all. And Kat goes off. She's like, you know what? You're both stupid. Because none of you were alive when that war even happened. But you just hate them because you were told to. And you hate them because you were told to. And you're both stupid. And I was like, go Kat. And Lothos does too. Like Lothos grabs her by the neck, right? And Damon flips full Luxon. And then Lothos just starts laughing because he's like, you got more balls than anybody in this room. So he says, I will work with you guys. I will give you an Aram army if I can feed from her, talking about Kat. And Damon's like, no. And Kat's like, well, we kind of need the Aram. So Kat talks to Damon and talks him into agreeing. And so she says yes. And so they go to Lothos's bedroom. And of course, Damon's like, why does that have to be his bedroom? And Kat's like, let's just get it over with. Well, when Lothos comes in, he ain't got no shirt on. He and the guys who lost their shirt club. And so Damon is just like seething. We can just picture Damon just like. Well, as soon as Lothos touches her, Damon flips full Luxon and starts to go after Lothos. Lothos uses his power to like push Damon up against the wall and hold him there. And Kat jumps up in front of him and is just like, just go ahead and do it while you've got him up against the wall. Just do it now. Just do it. And Lothos just falls out on the bed laughing. And Kat and Damon are just both like, and Lothos like, oh, I don't want to eat you. I just want to see if you guys would do it. So he agrees to help them. And so they go to Hunter's house, which is what was Luke's contact, was Hunter's brother Lore's house. Anyway, they're at their house. Hunter and Lore and Serena and all those people are like, well, since we got guests, we need to go to the store and get some food. We'll cook. It'll be a whole thing. So they leave and go to the store. So that leaves Damon, Archer, and Kat in the house alone. And then the Luxons show up. And they're all fighting. And Dee shows up. And she's fighting. And I mean being nasty. Like, she's trying to kill Damon. So Kat jumps on her because she don't want Damon to have to fight his sister. So them two are having this, like, epic freaking girl fight. Like, Dee throws Kat through a wall. And the whole time, Kat is telling Dee memories, of them and their friendship. Trying to, like, snap her out of it. And when she finally brings up Adam, when she finally brings up Adam, Dee breaks. And she screams just this, she's her pain that she hasn't dealt with. And so Dee finally breaks. She screams. She cries. She's back. She's back. We got Dee back. Okay. So Dee tells them that she was told to either bring Damon and Dawson in or kill them. So they get this idea, well, let's act like Dee is bringing us in and we'll head to West Virginia and maybe they will come to us. So they head to West Virginia. And now, you know, Damon and Dee and Dawson lived right next door to Kat. So when they pull up in the driveway, there's Kat's mom's car. And so Kat thinks her mom is home. And when she comes in the house, her backpack and everything is still there like it's supposed to be. And she sees her mom in the kitchen. She runs and grabs her mom. Damon is like yelling at her, but she's not listening because she sees her mom and she wants to hug her mom. Damon pulls her off of her mom. And her mom just like looks at her with these like bright blue eyes. And Kat's mom had hazel eyes or gray eyes. And that's when they realized that like Kat's mom's been assimilated. So she's gone. Yeah, so Kat's mom is gone. So Damon kills the Luxon. Kat is screaming and crying because, you know, and of course then I was crying because I'm a sympathy crier. It doesn't take much for me to cry. And while all this is going on, freaking Ethan walks in, who is the leader of the Luxon community, who, come to find out, is not even a Luxon. He's an Origin. He was placed there by Daedalus. So he comes in and gives the whole, you know, the villains always have to give this speech. And so he's telling them how he was one of the first Origins. His parents were murdered. He grew up in a lab. He was placed in the Luxon community, and basically he decided he was going to get revenge on the humans. And he wants the humans to suffer the way he had to suffer. So, Kat calls him crazy, and he grabs Kat by the throat. Damon is like begging. He's like, please just let her go. Damon is begging. All of a sudden, like a whole bunch of crap, all of a sudden, there's a freaking light outside, right? And then the freaking MIBs, the men in black, come busting in the house through the windows like a freaking SWAT team. Kat takes her gun and shoots Ethan because Ethan makes a run for it. So Kat shoots Ethan. And then they all go outside because the Luxon are fighting the soldiers. And so it's this, you know, another freaking battle. So Kat takes off after an Origin. Like, they're all fighting, right? Damon's fighting, Dee's fighting, Archer's fighting, and they're all in their little, and that's one thing that Jennifer does a really good job of, is you get to see these little, as they like to say in Game of Thrones terms, these little vignettes of these individual characters fighting inside this big, huge battle. So anyway, Kat sees this Origin. She takes off after this Origin and chases him for miles. She ends up in the friggin' Luxon community. So she's surrounded by Luxon, okay? Damon shows up, and so they like hold each other's hand. They're like, you know, if this is the end, we'll face it together. And so they're basically, you know, they think the Luxon are going to kill them. And all of a sudden, these dark clouds come rolling in. It's the Aram. The Aram have showed up, and the Aram eat the Luxon. So it is a massacre. I mean, it's just chaos, right? Kat is overwhelmed, understandably so, and she takes off. And she ends up, like, in the Seneca Rocks. Damon follows her, and they have this very poetic and lovely conversation, which harkens back to the very first book when Damon took her to the rocks for the first time and told her the story of Snowbird. And told her, what was it he said? He said something about the people who are the most beautiful they don't know it or whatever. And so he says kind of the same thing all over again. And it's just this really sweet kind of, you know, it's just this really sweet moment. So the next day, Kat is outside pulling weeds. Damon goes out to check on her because Luke calls Archer and tells him Nancy is missing and she was spotted in Georgia. And Georgia ain't that far from West Virginia. Okay, so about the time they get the phone call, Damon's like, holy crap. He goes outside, sees Kat pulling weeds, and he like hugs her and is like, oh, thank God you're okay. And about that time, Nancy shows up with a flipping gun. Yes. This book is like boom, 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 boom. So Damon knows she's not going to shoot him. She's going to shoot Kat. And I think that's what she goes to do. She goes to shoot Kat, but Damon like turns, and Damon ends up taking the hit. And it's one of those modified bullets. So, like, Damon is hit. He goes down. Kat is, like, of course, hysterical. And Archer is like, we need to get the bullet out. But then Kat goes down, too. She passes out, too. And so she wakes up in the hospital. Archer called the general, who had a helicopter, fly them back to the base. And Damon is alive. Yay! because there for a minute, I was like, oh Lord, and they not bonded either. So when Kat sees Damon, she goes and crawls in his hospital bed, and he wakes up, and she's like, I don't know how you survived, because it was one of those special bullets. And he's like, I heard you telling me to hang on. And she's like, I just don't know how you did it. And he says, I love a challenge, which is what he said at the end of, I think it was Onyx, when he felt like because him and Kat were bonded, they should be together. And Kat's like, no. And he says, I love a challenge. And she says, so do I, Damon, so do I. And she says the same thing again this time. And so it's just, it's so sweet. Okay. So, now the epilogue is 11 months later. They're in Colorado. They're in college. And Dee and Archer come over, and all four of them go over to Beth and Dawson's house. And Beth and Dawson ended up having a little girl. So she's the first female origin. And they named her Ashley after Ash. I know, it's so sweet. So, and that's it. That's the end of Opposition. So that's the happily ever after. So everybody's okay, and everybody's happy and in love. And so next will be The Darkest Night, which is the spinoff of the Lux series, and it's Luke's story. So, yay. All right, see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.